Hi guys, how are you?
How's it going?
Doing great. So to start, one of the things I love about this is that Mickey keeps going back to music throughout the show, and that is kind of like her grounding place. Is there something like that for you guys in your own lives that you're like, this is the thing that I've always done my entire life that I go back to when I kind of need a moment?
It might be the same. I don't know. Mine's writing. Mine's writing fiction specifically. So I have worked as a fiction writer for 20 years. This is my first experience translating a novel alongside a showrunner into a series. But in my heart of hearts, it's like I get up at 5:30 a.m. and I go down into my basement and I write for 2 hours. And that really does kind of reconnect me to myself.
Absolutely. I think that same for me. I think that I spend, I'm a 5 a.m. riser as well. I like writing on the weekends. I would say the only thing that might beat that is my children, but apart from that.
Oh yeah, I have children too. Yes, then I see them at 7 a.m. and I give them a big hug.
No, that definitely resets me. Just what I mean,
right.
or brings me down to earth. Really, is what it does.
Yeah.
Happy for you guys that you can wake up in the mornings. That's not my life story. But I also love talking about adaptations because I think it's such an interesting kind of back and forth, especially when the author is involved and you guys are telling this story in a new medium. How was it kind of working together on something like this and making sure it both honored the source material while being its own thing?
Well, I think that one of the most beautiful things about this process has been that Liz has been so open to adapt. And if there was something that was going to translate to the screen in a different way, she was game to have that done. So it was just about having ad nauseum conversations about what was our North Star, what were the things that we wanted to hold on to, what were we willing to depart from, how would certain things change as you're developing it for the screen, how are you going to translate something visually. Like, for example, in the book, Mickey wants to, her sort of obsession was to become a history teacher, but that was, not as visually stimulating as somebody who played an instrument and had that promise, and then we could show how that promise was then taken away from her.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, women love true crime, and I'm one of them, so I'm talking about myself. And I do think it's really interesting when a true crime, or not a true crime, but like a crime story is written by women, because I feel like we look at that stuff very differently than kind of the male lens on it. How exciting is it to bring something like that to Peacock and get a whole new audience of women who maybe didn't read Long Bright River into the show and reading the book after?
Yeah, I think Peacock is the perfect home for this show because it has a lot of series that appeal to women, but also men these days. I think the book had a pretty equal readership, interestingly, and we hope that the series might as well. Yeah. That said, I think being women, it was very important to both of us, not only to upend the kind of traditional thing that crime dramas do of like portraying the person working with the law as being on the right side of morality, and the person, who's not working within the bounds of the law as being on the wrong side. Throughout this series, the savior and the victim kind of switch back and forth over and over, and we really made it a priority, I think, to upend both the savior narrative and the victim narrative. Like, there are victims in this series in the sense that, they fall victim to homicides, but if you watch to the end, you'll see a kind of interesting thing that happens with their stories as well.
Yeah, and it was also, for us, I think, really important for us to be giving agency to a community and a group of women who had been largely written off by society.
I cannot wait for everyone else to get to see the show, and I'll talk about it. And so thank you guys so much for talking with me today.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
That's great.
Thanks.
I liked your first question.